Continue tracking that. Stay with us. A big breaking here. Yasin Malik has been convicted in the Jammu and Kashmir terror case. Yasin Malik pleaded guilty to all the charges in a case related to alleged terrorism and secessionist activities. Distributed the Kashmir Valley in the attempt that he made to disturb Kashmir Valley in 2017. Yasin Malik is now expected to get life imprisonment. Arguments on sentencing on May 25th. He's had earlier pleaded guilty. Here's a big breaking coming in. Yasin Malik has now been convicted in the Jammu and Kashmir terror case. Yasin Malik has pleaded guilty in all charges in a case related to alleged terrorism and activities that has disturbed the Kashmir Valley in 2017. Yasin Malik is expected to get life imprisonment. Arguments on sentencing on May 25th. He's already had earlier pleaded guilty. Let me cut across to Nalini Sharma, who's been tracking those developments. Nalini, Yasin Malik now convicted for the terror activities that he's carried out in 2017. Break it down for us. What's the sentence that's been ordered? What are the arguments?
Well, Nabila, the arguments on the sentencing are still yet to happen. As to what punishment will be awarded to Yasin Malik is something that the court is yet to take up. But after he pleaded guilty the last time around during the proceedings, today he has been officially convicted by the NIA court, which means that after pleading guilty, the court today also has found him guilty of the charges of terror funding in this entire matter. And it is on May 25th that they're given to understand is when the arguments on the quantum of his sentence are going to happen, which means as to how much punishment he'll get is something that will be decided on May 25th after hearing arguments from both sides. Along with this, he's also been asked to submit all details of his financial records before the court so that the court can take that into consideration on the next date of hearing, which is the 25th of May. And as to what punishment will now be awarded to Yasin Malik is something that we have to wait and watch out for. And on 25th May, we'll know the answer to that.
Well, here is life imprisonment that Yasin Malik has been awarded. Give us an understanding of the crimes that he's been convicted for. A quick glimpse, Nalini.
Well, Nabila, the main case against Yasin Malik in this reference is that of terror funding. The fact that illegal money was routed through him and it was provided for terror funding activities. So there are very serious charges under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act that have been accorded against Yasin Malik. The last time around when the hearing had happened before the court, Yasin Malik had pleaded guilty on all of the charges. So that was taken on record the last time around. And today, in an order that has been pronounced by the court has gone ahead and officially found him guilty of these very same charges. Remember, it's a very important disclaimer that they're putting out, Nabila.
That Yasin Malik had already pleaded guilty of these charges the last time around. But as to whether or not what is the punishment that is going to be awarded to him is still something that we are not aware of, because the arguments on the quantum of the sentence that will be given to Yasin Malik on the charges of terror funding is something that will happen only on the 25th of May before the court. From both sides, there will be arguments placed on what kind of punishment should be awarded to him. There might be a little bit of leniency, keeping in mind that he has pleaded guilty for all of these charges, but still we can't speculate on that right now. We'll have to wait and see exactly what happens on the 25th of May and for what punishment will be awarded to Yasin Malik for the terror funding charges under the UAP.
Right, Nalini, when you say life imprisonment, Yasin Malik, of course, he's guilty. He's been convicted now. When you say life imprisonment, is it imprisonment until death? He's going to be in prison until he dies. How does this, what will be expected in court when the arguments for the sentence comes about?
Well, it is of course likely, Nabila, that the NIA might be pushing for the maximum punishment of life imprisonment like you stated, but ultimately it depends on the kind of arguments that are put forth by Yasin Malik's lawyer and as to whether or not they ask for a little bit of leniency from the court on the grounds that he has already pleaded guilty for the charges before the court. So keeping this in mind that he's pleaded guilty, it might be a little fast-tracked as well. That is essentially why we've seen this order coming out today where he has officially been convicted. But as to what the court will do and as to whether or not he will get the maximum punishment if pleaded so by the NIA or whether there'll be leniency shown is, like I said, something that we will only know on the 25th of May. The reason why this is important is because Yasin Malik has officially been convicted, which means that he will be awarded some punishment or the other. But exactly what the quantum of that punishment is going to be and what the extent of that punishment is going to be is something that we'll know only on the 25th of May.
Right, he's of course been toying with the law for quite some time now. But Nalini, is there a way that you believe, or any room for Yasin Malik's counsel to possibly appeal to a high court on this?
Well, it doesn't seem likely, Nabila. The only thing that they might appeal against will be if the sentence that is awarded to him doesn't go in his favor or something that he was expecting. So they might challenge the sentence before a higher court and ask for a little bit of leniency in the sentence or a reduced sentence. But keeping in mind that he himself has pleaded guilty before the court regarding these charges, it is unlikely that he is going to challenge the conviction itself. So the conviction is not in question over here. The only question is what punishment will be given to Yasin Malik.
Nalini, please do stay with us. I'm going to quickly cut across to Amit Raina, who's joining us on the phone line for this. Amit has been a Kashmiri activist. Amit, here is Yasin Malik, who's now been convicted, a life sentence. We believe the arguments for his sentence yet to come up, but he's pleaded guilty.
Yes, it's a welcome decision by the court. While we are awaiting the sentence, the quantum of sentence, I hope it is life imprisonment, and I sincerely hope that government of India continues to prosecute him in the cases of the genocide of Kashmiri Pandits as well as killing of 4 Air Force officers. Because for a man like Yasin Malik, who has been responsible for killing of hundreds of people as well as raping scores of women, probably the capital punishment is the only punishment that he deserves. He is the man who is responsible for the ethnic cleansing of Kashmiri Pandits. He headed the dreaded organization called JKLF. For many years, the state has treated him as a state guest. I think it is the right time that the right message is being sent to all these separatists and terrorists that justice may be delayed. It's a message to the victims that justice may be delayed, but it is not going to be denied. And I hope that 4 Air Force officers killing will show him, will show that he will get punished for what done to 500,000 community. So it's a welcome decision, and I hope that they give him a life imprisonment, because the charges which he has been framed upon him do not have capital punishment.
Right. Amit Raina, the kind of atrocities and the crimes that he's carried out, he's almost agreed to every one of them. He's pleaded guilty. In fact, we understand that he's been charged under Section 16, Terrorist Act, Section 17, raising funds for Terrorist Act, 18, conspiracy to commit Terrorist Act, 20, being a member of a terrorist gang or an organization under the UAPA, and then sections 120B of criminal conspiracy, 124 of sedition. And these are the charges that he's all pleaded guilty to. He's not objected to any of these charges in court. How has he gotten away, though, from the law so long?
Avoid capital punishment, because the other charges, the other cases on which he's being prosecuted have a stricter punishment, which includes the capital punishment. He has gone away because, unfortunately, the state of this nation, the government of India and the state government, kept on believing that by appeasing a terrorist, they're going to appease a larger section of community in this country. And I think this government at least has believed that such things do not happen, and the law has to take its own course and justice has to be delivered. I also hope the Supreme Court, which when dismissed my petition, said that 27 years is too long, will take a note of his pleading guilty as well as the judgment that the lower court has given, and pick up the petition, the curative petition which we have filed.
Right. Also what needs to be observed here, Amit Raina, is that the fact that he's pleaded guilty, there could be some concession in his sentence. How would you look at that move? This is speculative.
This is speculative, and the only sentence the community wants to see is the capital punishment. So while he may get a life imprisonment or a lesser sentence, the community as well as Roots in Kashmir will continue to pursue the cases which are of more heinous in nature, and we'll try our best that he gets capital punishment, because an example needs to be set to the rest of the terrorist and separatist gang, and or anyone who thinks that they can get away with murder in this country. An example needs to be set.
All right. Amit Raina, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your thoughts. Let me quickly cut across to Nalini. Also, Sunil Bhatt joining us live from Jammu. Let me cut across to Sunil. Sunil, Yasin Malik has been convicted. All right, we're going to try and patch him for now. Nalini joined us. Nalini, of course, the Kashmiri Pandit community, are quite awaiting this kind of verdict. They were waiting for a verdict like this. This has come as a welcome move. We heard Amit Raina saying that this man has gotten away too long and he's finally been brought to book. They're pressing for capital punishment, but what, in your view, is due to happen next?
Well, Nabila, the court has specifically asked for Yasin Malik to provide all of his financial records for the court to adjudge what his financial situation really is. And usually the court does this in cases where they are planning to impose a fine to try and understand what magnitude or what amount of a fine can be imposed. So as to whether or not Yasin Malik will only get away with a fine, which is also a possibility, or whether he'll have to face a fine as well as imprisonment is something that we have to wait and watch out for. But it seems that at this point, a fine on Yasin Malik will be imminent for these charges that he is pleaded guilty of and has subsequently been convicted of. But as to whether or not that will be accompanied by imprisonment for Yasin Malik is something that we'll know on the 25th of May. There will be arguments that will be happening on the quantum of sentence, which means that Yasin Malik's lawyers are, of course, not going to agree for him to get the maximum punishment. But exactly what the quantum of the sentence that is going to be awarded to him will depend on the court only once the arguments have been completed. What is the punishment that Yasin Malik's lawyers are going to be okay with is something that they'll put forth before the court on the 25th of May when the arguments are happening. And we can expect for the order from the Patiala House Court on the 25th of May itself once the arguments have been completed.
Right, stay with us, Nalini. We have reactions coming in from the Kashmiri Pandit community. Of course, they're pressing for capital punishment for Yasin Malik. For now, the development is that he's been convicted in the Jammu and Kashmir terror funding case. We have Utpal Kaul, a Kashmiri Pandit, joining us on the phone line. Utpal, here is Yasin Malik, seems to have finally been brought to book. Delhi court has now awarded life imprisonment. Now, arguments to this sentence will come up in days to come. 25th of May is when that will be argued. And it appears, considering he's pleaded guilty, he's accepted all the charges that have been made against him, there may be some room in law to give some concession when it comes to a sentence for him. How would you look at this?
Thank you very much for having me on this very important question. Let me tell you that Kashmiri Pandit from the very beginning demand that Yasin Malik is a terrorist and he is the founder of terrorism in Kashmir. So we Kashmiri Pandits from the very beginning demand that he should be booked on the murder charges, and he has accepted how he has killed 4 Air Force personnel in 1990. So this is a light charge of fine or something in terror fund. It is a very, very small matter, but we want that his case is in Jammu court. He should be not only booked and not given life imprisonment, he should be hanged, and because of that, the terrorism will get stopped, because there should be an exemplary punishment for people like Yasin Malik, people like Bit Karate and others who assassinated and killed Indian Army, J&K police personnel, and the Kashmiri Pandits. They did these killings in 90, and we became victims of genocide, and responsible for that genocide, JKLM, and then Hezbollah Mujahideen and other terror organizations. Our demand is simple and straight, that they should get exemplary punishment. This terror funding case, and he may get some punishment for that, is just an eyewash. We reject that. We don't want that. We want that he should be given exemplary punishment, and that exemplary punishment is that he should be hanged. That must be the law of the land, must prevail. Thank you.
Mr. Kaul, thank you very much. Appreciate your views on that. Of course, the aggrieved Kashmiri Pandit community really pressing for capital punishment. They want this man, they want to see him hung. That's what you have voices coming in from the community. Kashmiri Pandit want capital punishment for Yasin Malik. Sunalji Bhatt, who's tracking those developments, even in Jammu, we see that this message has echoed among the Kashmiri Pandit community, many of them saying, this is not enough. We want this man to have capital punishment. He must go. He's unleashed terror across the Kashmir Valley. Kashmiri Pandits were the prime target. And now a Delhi court has awarded life sentence. But Pandits, they're saying that's not enough. What's the sentiment like? And give us a sense of the kind of crimes he's really carried out, Sunil.
Well, Nabila, first of all, we need to understand that Yasin Malik has been convicted in terror funding case and not in the cases that pertain to the killings of the Kashmiri Pandit community. But nevertheless, it has come as a ray of hope for the Kashmiri Pandit community. They feel that now that Yasin Malik can be convicted for the heinous crimes he committed in the Kashmir Valley in 90s. As far as this case is concerned, NIA court today, they heard the arguments on this case because Yasin Malik had already pleaded guilty as far as this case is concerned. So court has convicted him, NIA court has convicted him, and they are going to pronounce the quantum of punishment on May 25th. The court has also asked the prosecution to verify the financial records of Yasin Malik. We need to wait that what kind of punishment he is given, whether he only fine is imposed on him or he is given any punishment also, because he has pleaded guilty. The court may take a lenient view, and that is the reason, precise reason, that Yasin Malik pleaded guilty as far as this case is concerned. But if we look into the other cases, there is, trial going on at the special Tada court in Jammu. These two cases are killing of the Indian Air Force personnel. Yasin Malik had killed 4 Indian Air Force personnel in broad daylight in Srinagar, and he's also accused of kidnapping Rubia Saeed, the elder daughter of the then Home Minister of India, Mufti Muhammad Saeed. So law is now catching up with Yasin Malik, but it remains to be seen that what kind of punishment is given to him by the NIA court. But it's a ray of hope for the victims' families, because they are waiting for justice for a long time now, for last 3 decades, and hearing is going on in other cases also. Trial has resumed in other cases also after so many decades, and the victims' families now demand that the trial should be expedited. Day-to-day hearings should take place so that Yasin Malik can be punished for the heinous crimes he committed in early 90s in the Kashmir Valley. And there are so many cases pending against him. The cases include rape, murder, hawala. So there are very serious cases that this man faces.
And here is Yasin Malik, who is pleaded guilty. He says that, yes, I've committed those crimes. That's a man, a defiant Yasin Malik, who has admitted to all the crime that he's committed. Now the Delhi court has convicted him life imprisonment. Now, of course, the quantum of sentence will be discussed and debated on the 25th of May.